Hello and welcome to Thursday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where today we should have an absolute treat in store. One of my very, very favourite constructors, Sam Cappleman-Lynes, has sent us a classic Sudoku, which is called a Boomerang. I was just staring at the grid then, trying to work out why it's called Boomerang. I've noticed there's symmetry, look, around this diagonal, so if you draw a line down this diagonal and reflect the grid around that diagonal, you would get the digits would all map to themselves, and that looks a bit like a boomerang shape to me. So maybe that's why it's called Boomerang, or it could be to do with the solve and the solve path. I do not know, but this ought to be brilliant. This is part of this whole sort of theme that's going on Discord for the last few months, where people try and make Sudoku puzzles that illustrate techniques. And I don't know if, well, I've been asked to load in this puzzle to a solver, which I've done, but I haven't actually clicked on anything in the solver yet. So I don't know if the solver will know how to solve it. In fact, let's get that out of the way. Here it is. The puzzle is in the solver. I have to click grader, I'm told. So I'm going to do that now. And we shall see what no solution is found. I don't know what that means. That might mean I've put it into the solver incorrectly. Let me just read what this says. Insufficient logical strategies are known to properly grade this puzzle. Bowman's excluded. Bowman must be Bowman's bingo, which I think is basically computer speak for guessing. I.e. it is really difficult, or it has multiple solutions. Check with solution count. Right, okay, that's what I should do. Right, I've just clicked the solutions button and it says number of solutions 1, so maybe I haven't put it into the software incorrectly, which is a relief. But that, I've never seen that before, actually. Not in this solver anyway. This is Andrew Stewart's solver, which you can hear Maverick just flying past my window. We shouldn't be surprised. But no solution found. That basically means this is going to be utterly brutal. And the computer doesn't understand how to solve it logically, which is fascinating. So we ought, well, as I say, we ought to be in for a treat, but it is a bit disconcerting because I might not be able to solve it. Before I read you the rules of this classic Sudoku, there's a clue there as to how long that will take. Just to mention that Mark and I are going to be attempting Bubba Is You in a live stream again on Saturday night. So Saturday night, 10 o'clock UK time. And that's when you should be able to see us recommence our battle with that amazing game. Also, the result of the poll is in. So we ran a poll to see what you wanted me to do with regards to live streaming a part of The Witness called the Music Box Challenge, and it does seem that you want me to try and stream it, so I will be attempting that probably next week. So yeah, I'll announce that on Twitter, which if you don't follow us on Twitter, it's @CrypticCracking. Other than that, just to mention, if you follow us on Patreon and you follow us for the crossword content, Mark has just released his solve of the latest Times Club monthly special, this absolutely brutally hard cryptic crossword that I'm pretty certain when I say that I think Mark is the only person on the planet who can attempt that puzzle without a dictionary. So if you want to watch that, that is available right now. And if you like it, if you follow us on Patreon for the Sudoku content, and I think more of you do that, we have this incredible Lockout Lines Sudoku hunt ongoing at the moment as our October monthly reward. There's about 16 puzzles in that, so do have a go at it. Many of you have had a go, many of you have finished it, and the feedback we've been getting has been splendid. With all that said, let's get on with Boomerang, and I'll read you the rules. Here we go. Normal Sudoku rules apply. That is it. So today it is plain and simple Sudoku. It's the sort of stuff we may see on our newspapers, although I can absolutely guarantee in your newspapers you will never have seen a Sudoku of the quality that Sam normally creates. So yeah, let's have a go. Do have a go yourselves. The way to play is to click the link under the video. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. And I can see immediately I can put some ones pencil marked into box 8 down here. We've only got 2 2s in the grid, so in fact look, 1s, 2s and 3s are not really very helpful, are they? What about 4s? 4s I can pencil mark there. This is where I have to sort of bring my eyes back a bit from the screen, because normally when I solve puzzles, just to show you, some people say, oh, Simon's scanning is awful. My scanning is awful, but when I normally solve, I'm right back here. And I have a very different field of vision when I have to get close to my microphone. 5s are in one of those squares. 5s, we get 4 5s in the grid, so it feels like I should be able to do more with 5s, perhaps. Though I can't immediately see how to. 6s. I can pencil 6s in box 8. 6s in box 3. I have got 4 6s again, so let's check whether there's anything better than that going on. It appears not. There is something there though. 6s in column 1. Look at that. This 6 stops that being a 6. This 6 stops those being a 6. So 6 is locked into one of 2 positions in box 1 there, which is a little bit interesting. 7s. 7s, you can get a pencil mark in box 2 and a pencil mark in box 1 as a result of that. 8s. 4. Oh, 8s. I've got a digit. Never mind what the computer says. We can just fill in the digit there. I could have got that instantly if I just started looking at 8s. I've now got 5 8s in the grid. 8s are in one of these 2 cells in box 5. One of these 2 cells in box 9. Okay, that might be as far as we can take the 8s. Let me just stare at the 8s for a second or two. See if inspiration strikes. No. 9s. 9s are one of 3 places in box 3. Right, so have we already run out of gas? I fear we might have done. So what do we do now when we're stuck on a Sudoku, or what do I do? Well, now what I'm probably going to do, I'm just going to quickly flick through the digits again in case getting this 8 has done something for me. It's pushed 5 down here in box 2. Yeah, okay, so that's reasonable technique actually. So I went through the digits 1 to 9 once, and then because I've changed, if you like, the base position of the board by getting this 8. It's important to think about how getting this 8 affects the other digits. And you can see this 5, which previously could have gone here, is now pencil markable. It's only in 2 positions now. So 5 is a little bit restricted in box 1. Right. Wow, okay. Well, I think I can do some stuff in column 1 now, actually. This is another simple technique that it comes up all the time. If you're a fan of computer-generated puzzles and you do the New York Times hard Sudoku, this comes up about 1 day in 2. This pattern here. And what do I mean by this pattern here? Well, I mean you should consider this column whenever you see this pattern. So similarly with this pattern, because you're ruling 5, 6 and 7 out of those 3 cells in column 1, which is a big restriction, especially as these squares are also not 5, 6 and 7. So the 5, 6 and 7 in column 1 have to be in 3 of those 4 cells. And in fact, look, 5, 6 and 7 are looking at this cell. So there is what's called a hidden triple. And why is it a hidden triple? Well, it's a hidden triple because the only way of finding this is by considering the locations of these digits in the column. If we looked at these cells individually, they can individually be a lot more than just 5, 6 and 7. If we just take this one as an example and we think about what this cell can be, although this might be a bad example, this cell can be 1, 2, it can be 5, 6, 7 Oh, no, that cell's a dreadful example. Let's try this one instead, because that can actually only be 5, 6 and 7. This cell should be better. This cell, you can see, could be a 1 or a 2. There's no 1 or 2 looking at this cell. But because 5, 6 and 7 are restricted in the column, in fact it can only be 5, 6 and 7. So that this is an important technique. And now we should be considering the other digits in column 1, which now we know are limited to 1, 2, 8 and 9. That square is a 1 or a 2 because it sees 8 and 9 in the box. That square is a 1, 2 or an 8. Those two I think can be anything. So this square is limited to 1 or 2, which feels like it's... I mean, the thing to note though, unfortunately, is that the computer solver would definitely spot this very quickly, and would also spot that this was a 1 or a 2 instantly. So we've not really achieved very much here. Although, I say that, the computer would also spot this, which is that I have a 5, 7 pencil mark here. So that square can't be 5 or 7, and that is a 6. Okay. So again, you know, we shouldn't be too proud of ourselves here, because the computer would have got that very quickly. That actually gives us a 6 in box 3 as well. But at least we've found some logic. So we're up to 6 6s in the puzzle. 6 in box, in this box is now locked into one of 2 places. Yeah, okay. So we have box 4, box 8, and box 5 to fill with 6s still. And I don't think at this point we're going to be able to do that. Okay, alright. So we got... Now, are these 6s doing anything for us? Again, we need to check whether the fact that we've put this digit in, is it allowing us to put more pencil marks into the grid? So I was checking 4s there. Don't think so. This one. 1 and 2 are a little bit restricted in box 1 now. They have to go in exactly 2 of those positions. So in 2 of these 3 positions, you have to put a 1 and a 2. But we don't actually know anything about 1s and 2s in the columns, so... Just thinking about 1s and 2s over here as well, where we've got the same sort of thing going on. 2 of these 3 positions have to be 1s and 2s. No, okay, that's not really ringing any bells with me, I have to say. So the other thing we should think about is, are there weak cells in this puzzle? Now, what do I mean by weak cell? Well, I mean a cell that can only be a relatively small number of digits, preferably only 2 digits, or preferably really only 1 digit. But there, you know, if there are hidden or naked singles in the puzzle, we should be locating those. So what I'm doing now is I'm scanning rows and columns that have, you know, that have a dense number of digits. If you see row 2, it's got 4 given digits in it. So we know that the digits 1, 2, 3, 4 and 9. Yeah, so this square is immediately interesting. 1, 2 and 3. So that square can only be 4 or 9. 2, 3, 4 and 9. Yeah, this square's the same. That can only be 3 or 9. So these are the sorts of cells that might get interesting. Perhaps. What about column 5, where we've actually got 5 digits in the grid? We need 3, 4, 5 and 9. That square is therefore only 5 and 9. It sees 3 and 4. 3 or 9 into this square, it sees 4 and 5. I mean, okay, so that, I mean, this square at the bottom, I will pencil mark it, but it's less restricted. Wow, okay. Anything else we can spot? Why don't we check row 5 of the grid? 1, 2, 5, 7 and 9. That square. is a little, well, very, very slightly 1, 2 or 7, hardly worth penciling. Column 2, again we've got 4 digits given. We need all the low digits, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So that's 3, 4 or 5. 2, 3. That square is interesting. That square sees 2, 3 and 4. That can only be 1 or 5. This square is a similar quality, look. This square sees 1, 3 and 4, so that can only be 2 or 5. So these 3 digits have become quite restricted in this box. You can see that 9 has to be in one of those 3 cells. So 9 in box 7 is locked into one of 2 places. Well, which we could have got actually by considering the fact that we've got this 5, 6, 7 triple and this 3, 4 pair. Right, okay. So now we're really getting stuck. Let's continue our quest. What about column 7, where we have got, again, we've got 4 digits in the column, 1, 2, 3, 5 and 9. That square, that's got to be a 3 or a 9. 5 or 9. It's 1, 2 or 3. That's 1, 2 or 3 as well. Okay, what about this column? 1, 2, 3, 4 or 9? One, 2, 3 again. I'm not getting, I don't feel like I'm having much joy with this. I'm just going to check row 7 as well. 1, 2, 3, 8 and 9. No. Not really. No. Okay. So what do we do next? Well, the next thing I would be looking for is situations where digits are locked into a relatively small number of positions in rows or columns, i.e. preferably just 2 positions, because that's the base pattern for so many of the advanced techniques like X-wings, I don't know, skyscrapers, etc. So yeah, I mean, if you have a look, for example, at column 5 and ask where 4 goes, you can see 4 and, well, 4 is locked into one of 2 positions exactly. So if we just highlight those, and then immediately what I do is I scan the other columns, and I'm trying to lock 4s into just these 2 rows in other columns of the grid. It's not that far away. Where does 4 go in column 3? 3 positions. Well, let's keep going with that just in case. 4 in... No, it's not that... it doesn't actually restrict it, I don't think. Actually, I did feel like that was sort of almost interesting for a moment. I don't think it is. Let's instead let's come back to this column, because I noticed 5s as well were restricted, because you can't put a 5 there, so 5 is in one of 2 places. So can we do better with 5s in other columns? No, I don't think so. Sorry, no, this is not going very well, is it? Okay. So what on earth do we do? The other thing we could think about, knowing this is a puzzle by Sam that is meant to be a sort of showcase puzzle, is we could try and see whether there are, you know, like this being a 1 or a 2 is the sort of thing that sort of gets your spider senses tingling. You know, a single cell in the grid being a 1 or a 2, and that's because if you were trying to set up a puzzle to showcase a technique, you might focus on the digits 1 and 2 to demonstrate the technique. But having said that, don't really see this 1 and 2 communicating very well with its friends. It's a bit stuck out on the side, and we don't actually have many 1s and 2s in the grid. We've actually got more. I think we've got more high digits in the grid. It feels like this: 9867, 5769, 5768. Yeah, we've got more high digits, in fact. Yeah, that is a little bit suspicious as well. If I highlight those cells, you can see that these 4 corner cells, or not really corner cells, but these cells where these lattices intersect, they see all the high digits. 2, 3. Yeah, that's interesting. So those squares there can only be 1, 2, 3, and 4. So these squares here, it's not some sort of set related point, is it? I'm about to make a fool of myself here. Hang on a sec. Let me just get rid of my colouring. So I want to think about these cells, which, I mean, the problem with set is I'm going to eliminate those cells, aren't I? If I do something like that, obviously these are the same sets of digits. No, this is nonsense. Sorry. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. Right. So what is it we're meant to be appreciating about this puzzle? We have got to think about... Let's go back to thinking about digits that are restricted. The only thing that makes me worried about doing this is that this is going to find... I'm only going to find techniques doing this that the computer already knows about. The computer... You know, if there was an X-wing that was going to crack this puzzle, the computer would know that. And so it wouldn't have said no logical methods, or whatever it said, no logical methods are available. So we've almost got to accept that there are no standard methods available, and we've got to find the Easter egg, if you like, that Sam has hidden in this puzzle. That's why I quite like these cells being limited to low digits, because that's the sort of thing that looks like it might be set up. So yeah, I mean, if you could prove, for example, that these were all different, which you could if this was a diagonal Sudoku. If we weren't allowed to repeat digits on the diagonal, this cell would see that one and it would see those two. So this would have to be different, and that logic would apply symmetrically. So is there a way somehow in this puzzle of showing these digits are different digits? I'm not even sure that would be that helpful to show that, though. I don't know, it doesn't feel very easy to do that, does it? It's a little bit interesting, though. If I just highlight those cells for a minute, if you look at ones in this column, ones have to be in one of those three positions, and if you look at ones in column 8, they're in the same positions, which is a little bit strange. Let's add some highlighting to that. But then the 2s... Yeah, that's weird actually. That's right. Okay, there's something going on here, I think. 2s don't actually map to the same positions as 1s, but they do map to the same sort of thing. If you look at 2s in this column, 2s go here, here, or here. In this column, 2s go here, here, or here. So that the green is the position of the 2s. Now 3s are in those 3. And over here, oh no, it doesn't work. Ah, hang on, 3s are in those 3. Over here, 3s can be here, 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 or here. No, it doesn't work. Ah. Oh, no, okay, but then if you do it the same in the rows... 2, 3... Oh, right, that's interesting. 4s, hang on a minute, let me just highlight that. Where are 4s? Probably in the rows. There, 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 there. Wow, okay. I don't know what this means, but I think whatever it is we have to find, I do feel is related to 1s, 2s, 3s and 4s somehow, because this is awfully symmetrical. So the 1s, which are the red highlighting, let's get rid of the yellow highlighting, because the yellow highlighting was me just highlighting the corners. So the 1s are red, and they're very, very sort of symmetrical where they can go. The 2s are very symmetrical. And then if we switch to the rows, the 3s are symmetrical and the 4s are symmetrical. So what's this telling us? This is telling us that oh yeah, no, I've got it, I think. Yeah, that is ridiculous. That's just, I'm just... It just makes me feel so stupid, this sort of thing, because I have not got a clue how people like Sam, Shy and Jovial do this. This is just ridiculous. I mean, even if you had the idea that this sort of pattern exists, how can you put it into a puzzle like this? It's just ridiculous. Right, so the actual idea here, I think, is it's very beautiful, but not very complicated. So think about column 2. How many 1s are we anticipating putting into column 2? Well, the answer is exactly 1. How many 1s are we thinking of putting into column 8? The answer is exactly 1. So we know in column 2 and column 8 there are exactly 2 digits 1. There are 2 1s. Now, you can't put both of them in row 6. There's no way, because then you'll repeat a digit in row 6 and break the rules of Sudoku. So you've got to put a 1 in one of these cells, because these are the only 4 cells in those 2 columns that are capable of taking 1s if we can't put both 1s in there. So one of these cells, at least, is a 1. Now, let's just run that argument. Let's iterate that argument over 2s, 3s and 4s. How many 2s are we expecting there to be in these columns? Well, the answer is the same. There's going to be 2 2s. We can't put the 2s here in those positions again. So there must be at least 1 2 in those 4 corner places. Now, switch to the rows and ask the same question on 3s. Where are the 3s in row 2 and row 8? The answer is we don't know, but we do know there are 2 of them. And we know that the positions for 3s are in exactly these 6 cells. And we can't put 2 of them there. So there must be one, at least, in one of those 4. And the same is true for 4s. So we've now proved that there must be a 1, 2, 3 and 4 in these 4 corner cells. And therefore that is a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple. I'm not exactly sure I understand what this means yet, but I do now know these are a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple, which is... it's ridiculous. So these are a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple. The other thing that I'm noticing now is we have sort of floating X-wings, don't we? Because think about 1s. There is exactly 1, 1 in these 4 cells. There can't be more than 1, 1. Because if there was more than 1, 1, say we tried to put a 1 here and a 1 here, which in theory it looks like we can, but we can't. Because if we do that, we now can't put the requisite number of 2s, 3s and 4s into these 4 cells. We know that there must be 1, 2, 1, 3 and 1, 4 at least in these 4 cells. So if we try and take 2 of the positions up with 1s, we will break the other digits. So what that means is that one of these 2 squares must be a 1. And that means if one of these 2 squares is a 1, you can't put 1s in any of those squares. Now that might... I can see this doesn't really matter because we already couldn't put a 1 in there. So let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that because we could never have put a 1 in there anyway. But we can't put a 1 in either of these 2 cells, which we didn't know before. And... just trying to see if that matters. The answer, I think, unfortunately, might be no. What we might do is we'll identify all of these squares, and then if we don't spot anything quickly, we'll actually pencil mark them. Because the fact that this can't be a 1 does mean it's a bit more restricted than it used to be. So its actual options now are 6, 7 and 9, I think. I think it sees everything else. So let's do the same thing. So 2s, we know there must be a 2 in one of the green cells for exactly the same reason. So we can remove, yeah, again, 2 here, it was taking out those cells anyway. But 2 here and 2 here can come out. So let's label yellow the cells that are adjusted by the floating X-wings. And the reason I use floating X-wings is I know one of these is a 2, but I don't know which of these other cells is a 2. We don't know that yet. But wherever it is, there will be a sort of X-wing. Imagine that was the 2, then you'd have 2s on that limb of an X. Whereas if this was the 2 down here, you'd have 2s in that limb of an X. So it's sort of a floating weird X-wingy thing. Now, this can't be a 2. So the options for this square, I am going to pencil mark them, aren't I? So let's just do it. Can't be 1, 2, 3 or 4 or 5. So that's 6, 7 or 9 as well. This looks like we're almost getting somewhere. Oh, I should have done this one, shouldn't I? This can't be 1. So it can't be 1, 2, 3. It can be 4. It can't be 5, 6. Can be 7, I think. So that's come down to just 4 or 7. This one, which can't be 2 anymore, is not 1, 2. Oh, it can be 3. Can't be 4. Can't be 5, 6. Or 8, 9. So that's 3 or 7. These are really getting restricted. Right, now let's do the same with 3s and 4s. So 3s, we're looking at these 2 squares. Again, these 2 could never have been a 3 because of the 3 here. So it's these 2 that we're restricted in. Now this square can't be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ah, right, that's huge. Right, that square has become a naked single. I didn't even realise this square was restricted, actually. It wasn't one of the squares I focused on at the start when I was pencil marking, but now I look at it and we ask the question, what can it be? Well, simply by Sudoku, ignoring the 3 logic, it can't be 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 8 or 9. So its only options were 3 and 7, and we've now proved it can't be a 3, so that's a 7. Which means 7 is in one of those two cells. Seems remarkably unhelpful. Well, let's check this digit now, because this digit now, oh, it could never be a 7, but it can't be a 3. So we've got 1, 1, can't be 2, 3, 4 or 5. Maybe it can be 6, it can't be 7. Oh, good grief, no, 8 and 9. Bother. Alright, well, we'll check 4s then. So 4s are in these two, so these are the... Ooh. Yeah, in fact, that's interesting. It's just those two, I think, because this 4 was removing the possibility of that one being a 4. So those are the two squares that are the possibilities for 4s. So this one, that one can be, oh, that one can't be 3. Right, this one can't be 1, 2, 3 or 4. Can be 5, I think. Can't be 6, 7. Oh, right, that's become another naked single. Again, I could have spotted this was down to a choice of 2 at the start. I just didn't. But anyway, now it's not. Now it doesn't have the second option. That's got to be a 5. That's nice. That gives us a 5 in the middle of the grid. Right, and that 5 looks interesting because that's giving us a 7 on the left of the grid, which is giving us a 5 at the top of the grid. Come on, keep going. 7, that's not a 7 anymore. This 5 is giving us, no, it's not giving us a 5 in one of those. Ah, this 7 is giving us a 6, 9 pair now. Which feels like it might matter. So this square now is a 1 or a 2 by Sudoku. I've now got a 1, 2 pair in this row. I've got a 5 here, so that's a 5. 5, 5. This 5 is giving me a 2. This is going to be huge. 2, 1, 5. 2s can come out of these two cells. Which feels important. And in fact, look, this 5 is huge, isn't it? Because this 5, we knew one of these two had to be a 1 from our earlier logic. So that 1 now must be here. And that means that we get the 4 as well. That gives us a 2. That square's got to be a 9 just to finish off. That's giving us a 3. I think we might be on the road to success here. I've now got a 1, 3 pair in this column, so those can't be 1 and 3 anymore because we know that this is a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple. So this is a 2, that's a 4, that's a 9, that's a 3, that's a 1, so that's a 3, that's a 2. Good grief, these are 1, 8 and 9 down in that box. So those squares there are 2 and 4 is what I want to type in. 1, 8, 9, that is 2, 4. Yeah, there's a 4 here. So that's 2, that's 4. 2 seems to have to go exactly there. That took the position of a 6 pencil mark. So the 6 must now go here. The 1 must go here. That gives us an 8 on this side of the grid. And that square should be a right in. That's got to be a 4. That's a 4. It's the most obvious 4 in the world, but I didn't see it until just then. So these two squares, that's a 3, that's a 7. That's another obvious cell. That's a 9. That's a 3. That's a 7. So that's a 7. This column, what does it need? It needs 6s and 8s. That's an 8. That's a 6. That's an 8. That was because of that 6 there, by the way, in case anyone was wondering. This square here is, we've got a 1, 3 pair there. There's a 3 here. So we now know 1, 3, 1, 2. This is 1. This is 9. We've got to put a 9 in this box. It's now got to go here. That's a 3. That's a 6. That's a 9. And that should be a 9. And I think we've solved it. Yes. Wow. That is a 40-minute classic Sudoku solve. And I'm actually not that unhappy with that. That's really, I mean, well, let's just get to the nub of this. This is an extraordinary work of genius. Imagine you were set the task for your life. For your life, you have to sit there and come up with a Sudoku that no computer, or certainly I think it's one of the most comprehensive Sudoku solvers on the internet, cannot do logically. And then somebody says, okay, that's great. You've got to firstly come up with that Sudoku. And so you've got to come up with a totally new Sudoku technique. And then you've got to execute it in a symmetrical grid such that it's solvable by a human being. I mean, these are tasks that are not straightforward. This is ridiculous. It's ridiculous that somebody can do this. And Sam, what have you done here? This is just beautiful. It is so beautiful. And what I love about it is it's not, once you get your head around it, it's not that difficult. It's really not that, when I say it's not that difficult, I'm not talking about the setting of it. You know I'm not. I'm talking about the solving of it. I'm talking about the fact that this is a bit of an Easter egg, this 1, 2, 3, 4. I was suspicious of it. And then when you start thinking about those digits, it's really not hard to understand that the ones have to occupy one of these 4 cells, and then the 2s, and then the 3s, and then the 4s. And it's so lovely the way it works, that the 1s and the 2s apply in the columns, and the 3s and the 4s apply in the rows. So it sort of feels very much like the universe is singing to us. Wow, absolutely amazing. Again, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you all solved it as well, and let me know in the comments. Right, I better go and get myself a gin and tonic before my voice gives out completely. It's still not 100%, as you can tell, but that's the sort of thing that cheers me up. Wow, 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 wow. Thanks so much for watching. I'm back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.